So it turns out that Australia has dropped an anti-dumping action against imported Chinese wind turbines. That's where we get all our renewable energy stuff. As the Australian wine industry is hoping for an end to punitive tariffs on our wine exports to China. Now, these moves are trying to normalise our trade, and they're occurring as the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang met with Australian Foreign Minister Wong in Canberra today. The two reportedly discussed a potential visit by the Chinese Premier Li Qiang as both countries look to ease tensions.
We were pleased that we are on track for a Premier Li visit, and one of the important things that we did agree was to ensure that both sides work together to prepare for a visit, which the Prime Minister is looking very much forward to welcoming the Premier here. I'm very pleased that the Foreign Minister made time to come to Australia. I know he has a punishing schedule, and I look forward to the next foreign and strategic dialogue in China.
Punishing schedule, no pun intended, hey? Wong said she raised human rights issues in the meeting as well, but there was no mention made afterwards on whether or not they discussed tomorrow's face-to-face meeting between Wang and former Prime Minister Paul Keating in Sydney. To discuss these issues, I'm joined by Michael Shoebridge from Strategic Analysis Australia. Good to talk to you again, Michael. Obviously there's a sense of a thawing of tensions here by Australia and China. That's demonstrated just by this visit. But to what extent can that thawing be undermined by the visit tomorrow, which is obviously the Chinese effort to expose the division in the Labor Party and show that there's another view about all this that's much more pro-Beijing than the current government's?
Well, Chris, you're right. Wang Yi, the Chinese Foreign Minister, is deliberately trying to cause trouble for the government and for the Labor Party. He wants to expose trouble inside the Labor Party on China, and extraordinarily, he wants to cast Prime Minister Albanese and Wong as some hardliners on China, in contrast to the very pro-Beijing Paul Keating. So it is really an absurd situation that's playing right into Beijing's hands.
Yeah, it's diplomatic genius by China, of course, but the question is how they get away with it. Now, Dave Sharma, who's a former diplomat, said on our program last night that when the embassy proposed a schedule, it would have been very easy for our department, our diplomats, just to say, no, that meeting wouldn't be advisable. We don't think that would help the visit, and we would never have heard any more of it. Do you accept that the government could have knocked off the Keating meeting without any trouble?
Well, I think from the government's point of view, that would have caused a ripple in the pond of the Australia-China relationship. And the whole purpose of this visit, from Wong and Anthony Albanese's point of view, is to cause no ripple in the pond, no discomfort to the visiting Chinese foreign minister or to his Beijing boss, Xi Jinping. So they wouldn't have wanted to say no.
Sure, they didn't want to say no, but
thing is,
sorry, I was going to say, this comes to my theory that I proposed the previous night as someone who used to work in foreign affairs, and that is that Paul Keating should have just politely declined. If he had his own nation's interests at heart and his own party's interests at heart, he could have just made sure that he was busy that day.
But this is his moment to shine, isn't it? So what we've done is handed a political victory to Beijing, and the rest of the visit has been so striking because it's been so empty. One of the strangest things I heard Wong say is that they talked about the roles that China and Australia have in upholding the region's security. China's role is it's destabilising the region's security and creating the risk of war. So really, our government looks silent and supine on China, and yet with the Keating element thrown in, they're on the defensive.
Yeah, so we're saying something there that is diametrically opposite to what the reality is